from the Salvation Army National Headquarters, this is the Fight for Good podcast.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Fight for Good podcast. I'm your host, Lieutenant Colonel Tim Foley. We're recording here at our studios at National Headquarters of the Salvation Army in Alexandria, Virginia. Today's podcast is a very special one as we will be sharing our interview with Majors Paul and Alma Cain. Major Paul, is the director of the Salvation Army Student Center at Asbury University, and Major Alma Cain is the assistant director. We hope you enjoy this interview with Majors Cain. So what are some of your impressions now? You've been here a couple of months, and just for our listeners to remind everybody, you're part of the National Headquarters team. You're with us but you're kind of remote. There's been a lot of different things happening for you in the last couple. What are some of the impressions that you have so far?
Well, the students have been and are our primary responsibility, and just to be able to interact with them and to minister to them on a daily basis, we do a number of different things. We are available to them. We provide them with some special treats during the week. We also provide them with some meals during the week, but the impression that we have, they are here, they are hungering and for knowledge, but they are also pursuing their lifelong aspirations, be it in, the secular job market or as teachers, but there are a number of them that are looking forward to becoming Salvation Army officers, and they are constantly wanting to know, what should I do to prepare myself, and how should I, what classes, what practical things should I do? So the impression that we get of the young people is that they are very high quality and very looking forward to the next chapter of their life.
Yeah, Alma just mentioned this word hunger, and I really think that's true. When I see these students, they seem to be very not only hunger for the truth, but also they have this passion for service. This is one of the things about this generation, it seems to me, is that they love to express their Christianity in a practical manner. And so we're trying to factor that into some of the things that we provide here at the Student Center, opportunities for service, whether it's one of the projects we did recently is packing up little gift bags for some after-school kids, to short-term mission programs to these proc centers we mentioned about. Getting their hands dirty and active in ministry is something that they want to do.
So you're doing more than providing you a very safe and warm place. I mean, the facilities here are top-notch and inviting, and the students can come in and they kind of feel at home, away from home. You're surrogate parents, I'm assuming.
That's right.
In a different way.
I guess maybe on some level we're their surrogate grandparent. But they do come in, they curl up on the couches with their books, their laptops, their iPods, they fall asleep, they, charge their phones. It's really just, a lot of them tell us instead of going to the on-campus student center, they will come here because it is quiet.
So you both have hit the ground running at this point, and you had something happen just recently here. You had the privilege of hosting somebody. What was that like?
We were able to host the 21st General of the Salvation Army and his wife here recently, General Brian Peddle. They were invited here as guests of Asbury University for the purpose of speaking at the chapel services. Here at Asbury, there's 3 chapel services a week, which the students and the faculty attend. And so he was able to come and preach that day, but it really was a showcase a day and a half, really, for the Salvation Army on campus. We have a student fellowship band, brass band, as well as a choir, and they both performed during chapel. We had a little reception here at the Student Center where the students got to meet face to face with the general and his wife, and that was pretty special.
They were able to ask questions of the general, and he was very personable and candid with them in his answers, and there were a number of moments of laughter with him, but he is extremely personable, and we were very grateful to be able to host him.
There was one question I think we've heard about that's the kind that when you hear it, you kind of put your hand over your face and go, oh.
That's right.
But tell our listeners what that question was.
One of the students was being a little cheeky with the general and asked if the general would do a cartwheel in his uniform. And the general said he would, but he didn't want to scuff his new shoes.
And then he said I had the wrong kind of shoes on. And so there was a lot of good-hearted bantering back and forth, and the students thoroughly enjoyed him.
Well, it's not every day in the Salvation Army world that you get the international leader to come across your threshold. And there was one other thing I was interested about that particular visit, and it's what he shared in the chapel. Because he referred to it later on when he spoke to us at national headquarters. Would you mind reiterating that?
And it's so very interesting. You definitely could see the hand of God in his preparation for what he spoke about. One of the things that's happening on campus this year is the theme for the chapel is they're moving through the book of Acts and talking about how God brought the Spirit, but then he sent, it was the book of Acts is really about the sending out of the apostles, and the general preached about that. And I think his words were, God brings us in as if to embrace us, but he doesn't save us just to hug us forever. He brings us in so he could equip us and send them out for service. And that was a message that really resonates with this, especially not only this generation, this campus in particular. Asbury University is known for its sending capacity into the world. And one of the real emphases here is, get out and do something for the gospel. And so that was a brilliant message that was spoken.
I'll make the assumption that both of you, because of your long and varied experience with the Salvation Army, you've had the privilege of, being involved in people's lives who have gone on to do mission and who have, this must energize you to come into this place every day and realize that you're influencing the future of the mission of the gospel and of the practical work of the Salvation Army. Do you want to share on that a little bit?
Yeah. One of the things that always is a challenge, has been a challenge for me over the years, is that a lot of times when you talk about vocation in the Salvation Army, everybody automatically thinks that you're talking about becoming a Salvation Army officer. And naturally, that is something that is very important to the Salvation Army as well as any generation, is this plan of God preparing ministers and full-time personnel.
People need to replace us.
Yeah, because we're like you, I am like you, are getting old. Not as close to you yet, but getting there.
And please leave our wives out of this, because you're speaking truth. And they're
so,
Cindy's still a baby.
That's right.
So the reality of that here is that you have this university that's training accountants and people who are doing music and
education,
and social work, and all of these different vocations that need people who are filled with the Holy Spirit as well. And so when you talk about vocation here, you're not talking about just officership or even full-time ministry. You're talking about people who are the everyday work people who are being trained to be soul winners in whatever vocation they happen to be going in. Yes, there's tracks of full-time ministry here. They have worship arts and youth ministry and all that as part of the educational plan.
And they have the seminary.
And the seminary, absolutely. The seminary is right here too. But the vast majority of the students here will never be in full-time ministry per se, but they will be prepared as soul winners and people of mission, whatever vocation they go into.
They will be great local leaders in their churches. They will be great, influencers in their community. And I know for me, I think back about the people that influenced me as a young adult, and this is the model that I'm working off of. What did they do to help me and spur me along to become the officer and the lover of the Lord that I am today.
That was Majors Paul and Alma Cain. To learn more about the Salvation Army at Asbury University, visit www.asbury.edu/The Salvation Army. Well, that's going to end this special edition of the Fight for Good podcast. Be sure to subscribe to Fight for Good wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to follow the War Cry and Peer on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Until next time, this has been the Fight for Good podcast. God bless you.
Subscribe to Fight for Good wherever you listen to podcasts.